Intro Chat with Merrill's live, digging deep where techs thrive. From the latest hacks to cool updates, join the ride, don't be late.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Entra Chat. I'm your host, Merrill Fernando, and today we are going to talk all about Entra Hybrid Join, why you should do it or not do it, and how you can actually implement it. I have someone who's really passionate about the topic. Let me introduce you to John Towles. John is a solution architect at WEI, Worldcom Exchange, in the modern workplace side of the house. And that's the place where I used to work, where when I was an architect in my previous life, we were part of the modern workplace team. So super excited to have you, John.
Thanks, Merrill. I don't usually smile this much on podcasts, but being with Entra royalty like Merrill is crazy. So I'm John Towles. Going way back, I was basically the face of Workplace One, VMware. Now this is Workplace One product for over 10 years. Over the last few years, I'm now an MVP for Windows 365, Entra, security, Intune, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Also president of Workplace Ninjas US, and proprietor of mobilejohn.com, mobile-john.com.
That's how a lot of people know you, right? As mobile
Yeah,
John.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a funny story. I worked at a fintech company, and the CTO or the CTO was like, Mobile John. I'm like I kind of leaned into it. I got like a Brooks Brothers shirt. I had embroidered. It said Mobile John on it. I'm like, if people are gonna do that, just lean into it, And I just kind of stuck with it, and then I eventually had a blog, like circa I think 2016 or 2017. I started a blog, and
Nice.
it's kind of stuck with me. Not as much in the Microsoft world, but in the VMware world, that's how I was often.
And that's a fascinating switch, because I read a lot of all the VMware side of things, and when VMware Workplace, right? It was called VMware AirWatch and things, right?
Yeah, AirWatch, yeah. It's funny because it's called Workspace One. Is half the time when I go to type in the URL for a website for Workplace Ninjas, I type in Workspace Ninjas, and then it's like, oh no, like my DNS go down. Like I keep it's an ADHD thing or something. I keep transposing the S and the P,
Right.
and I'm like when I gave people my email, like my John at workplaceninjas.us, did I put Workspace or Workplace?
Workplace.
Workspace was like so much of what I knew. And it's like I always seem to transpose that all the time. I think at one of the webinars I actually called it Workspace Ninjas.
Workspace, right?
Which is, yeah, it's getting messed up.
So I have a lot of history. I mean, my big project was Intune. Like the way I got introduced to Entra itself was through Intune, and we had to migrate off VMware AirWatch, VMware Workplace, and moving to Intune. So we had like 80,000 users and like 100,000 plus devices, from mobiles to Macs and all of that. So that was when I really sort of got into Intune, but also Entra and conditional access and coming up with all those different ways. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny because I built the first ever and really only Workspace One to Intune migration tool for Windows, which Microsoft isn't supported, but It's been crazy how popular it's been. But yeah, like basically it will migrate a device from Windows, a Windows device from Workspace One to Intune without a wipe. A couple of reboots and it's done, and it's amazing. Like we did big pharmaceutical company, we did 50,000 devices with like a 92% success rate. So it was it's pretty special. Yeah, because when I first became MVP for Microsoft, we made the decision we were going to go to Intune and get off of Workspace One at our company. So we built the tool for that, and then it's just been really successful. Like we've migrated probably 150,000 devices by now.
Nice.
Which is funny. We've migrated more devices than the guy who built the original tool, which I based mine on, which is remarkable. It just shows like people freak out all the time. They're like, oh my God, like when Broadcom bought them, Nissa, they freaked out and they all tried to then they all went to AVD. Then they freaked out more with now the contracts are expiring and they're freaking, they just continue to freak out and try to find a way off. I still can't believe that Apple actually in September in GA is going to release a way to migrate off with ABM. It feels very not like them. I thought it was kind of funny that they're, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but basically you're gonna be able to flip devices from one MDM to another. It's that Apple Business Manager. It's kind of crazy. Because like it's like no big deal now. That just like doesn't feel very Apple of them to give people something nice and easy for free.
Yeah, right. It's always do this. This is the only way you do it.
Like nice. Move all those iOS, all those Mac devices. Like cool,
nice.
Sweet.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. I love it because I just tell customers now. I'm like, just wait till September. You're good. Like, I don't want to deal with that.
Cool. So today we are going to talk about hybrid join, but also we're going to talk about something special with the Workplace Ninjas and some awards. So we'll do that on the second half. So yes, hybrid join. I know you're really passionate about it. So just to set the stage, there are lots of people who are like new to this, who might be new, right? Like there'll be someone who's just starting out on their Entra admin or M365 admin journey. Do you want to just outline what Entra join and hybrid join, like what they mean, just to set the stage?
So I mean, you have like two different types of things, right? So most people, so Windows 11, we have I think 102 days left. I think last I checked, it was 102 or 103. And so one of the things that we've seen a lot in consulting services right now is that everyone, for whatever reason, said, oh, Windows 11 is going to be the reason we go to Intune. And so we've seen a lot of that, right? Where you have these people who are in SCCM or whatever, manage engine, blah, blah, blah. And so like they're all domain joined devices. And now those are just, your standard, domain joined device. And so when they want to move to the modern Microsoft, Entra world, they basically have essentially coexistence or co-management, right? Where they have a device that's domain joined, and then it's joined to Entra from an identity perspective, and that's hybrid join, which is basically like, hey, I'm kind of in both pools at the same time. Whereas Entra join is like what you would back when it was like when you would see just all those little small startups that didn't have any servers on prem. They
didn't even have AD. Right?
Yeah, they have anything. Yeah, so they were just doing that, and then obviously now we've seen this kind of transformative situation with the maturation of things like Cloud Kerberos Trust and all that. Yeah. So now people are like, oh, we don't need to be domain joined anymore to do Kerberos and stuff like that. It's funny when you think about it. Yeah. The best soundbite I have about Entra join is what was old is new again, because I built my career off of doing like SMIME, certs, Kerberos, all this stuff, and they're now all making a resurgence, especially Kerberos. Like Entra, like now, like we're using Kerberos in ways we never thought of doing before, right? We have like, if you think about Apple started doing Kerberos, basically cert based off of Kerberos, and now like with Cloud Kerberos Trust, which is the funniest technology because nobody thinks it just works. Like they don't believe you.
I was like, there isn't even a command for it. Like there's just one command.
I'm like, you do one line command. As long as you're syncing the main controllers, you do a Delta sync, done. They don't believe you. I'm like, let me just show you. Let's just see what happens. And that's the hardest part. I mean, the problem is there's so much. I guess prejudice is a good word. Like you have all these InfoSec guys that sit in their tower. They believe they remember what it was like originally, right? Like Windows Hello. You're gonna be on 80th fast. You had to use a certain no, or they had to do like pass the hash. No, they don't want to do any of that. And now like they just can't. They can't fathom the fact in this new world. All you do is Cloud Kerberos Trust and done. Yeah. Deploy policy in Intune, and you're good. You're done. Yeah. You don't need. There's no requirements. There's no device write back. There's none of this nonsense, which is awesome.
So basically, there are these two worlds, right? Like if you are a new startup, you're really new, you can just take a PC that comes from, in Australia, we call them JB Hi-Fi. You might have a Best Buy, or you just get the laptop. That's exactly how it worked when I got when I joined Microsoft 5 years ago. I just opened it straight off the Surface, unwrapped it, and then I just signed in with my Microsoft identity from the the out of the box sign in, and then it just got in all the Intune policies, Everything just came. I was not nowhere. I didn't have line of sight to the domain controller. I was just sitting with standard Wi-Fi and got in. So Microsoft calls these Entra joint devices, or another name is like cloud native devices, right? They're just born in the cloud. They live in Entra. There is no device ID in on-prem AD for these devices. And that's sort of like the future. And we have this hybrid join where people who have these devices that are already domain joined, etc., managed by SCCM, and could even be managed by Intune, then you can turn on this hybrid join, which means on the Windows you can suddenly start to search in OneDrive and things like that, right? Like you go to start and type stuff in, it'll pull the files from OneDrive. And
well, you know what's fascinating about hybrid join is that people don't realize a lot of things about it. So when you go first turn it on in Entra Connect, it actually goes and creates those identities inside of Entra. And you wouldn't realize that's actually what it's doing, is that it's actually going and creating those identities as soon as you turn it on, because you would think, oh, I have to go join it, or no, none of that actually has to happen. It goes through that whole process, and they don't realize that's actually what happens is it actually creates those identities right then and there.
Right.
And yeah, because I mean that's the interesting thing about it, because you wouldn't. That's the biggest change I think with going to Entra, is that everything you used to know is the way to do things, it's totally different now. Like you used to be taught, okay, I use 80 groups to permission stuff. I did it. Nope, I don't do that anymore. That's bad. Do all devices with filters, and like it's like every single thing that you thought you knew is different. Like it's just like you wouldn't think about like for example, the most common way to enroll devices, right, is or for hybrid is you use GPO to auto enroll it. There's a lot to learn in that aspect too. It's like what's old is new again. Like dsreg command like made a comeback, right? It became very popular. It's like half the troubleshooting tool for Entra and hybrid join is dsreg command.
Yeah, dsreg CMD.
which is funny because you run that and you learn about, oh, when I push down that GPO, okay, I better make sure that the actual object is not a hot mess, or can't get a device can't get a token to actually do that automatic enrollment into Entra and Intune and all that. It's just like, it's funny, like how much some of these things that like would like disappear. Like, ooh, I'm here again. Hello. Like you now can use like Cloud Kerberos Trust. You can using K-list to check the Cloud Kerberos token, which you wouldn't think that would be the case either. But it's like, and that's the thing that's kind of nice, right? Is that like all these skills kind of recycle themselves. Like it's kind of I think it's the fun, cyclical nature of what we do.
Exactly. Yeah. And for those who are listening, if you want to learn more about Kerberos and Cloud Kerberos Trust and so on, we have another episode that I recorded a month ago, I think, where we went a lot into this whole, what is Kerberos Trust? How does it work? And how is Microsoft modernizing Kerberos to work in the cloud world? So if you have questions and you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to that. It's we do a full deep dive with the PM from that.
I'm proud that when you Google Cloud Kerberos Trust, I'm the first blog after Microsoft.
Nice.
It was like, I think it was my top 2 articles last year were Cloud Kerberos Trust and Windows patching, which are no big surprises because they're the 2 things that probably people still struggle the most with.
It is, yeah. We did a whole thing on passwordless on YouTube, so many different sessions from my team. And there's one I did like a short one on how to do the Kerberos Trust, how to set it up. Basically just run that one command line. And that is like the most popular video of that entire series. And like by like 10x.
Whenever I think of Cloud Kerberos Trust, I think about the Anchorman meme with Ron Burgundy, where he's like, I don't believe you. People basically say when you talk to them about it, I'm like, yeah, just one command. Here, just go on. The hardest part about enabling Cloud Kerberos Trust is remembering which PowerShell module you have to install, like the Azure AD hybrid management or whatever. Right. That's the hardest part about doing Cloud Kerberos Trust, is remembering that. And then maybe if it's a crazy company who's like blocking the Kerberos port on Wi-Fi, but like outside of that, it's like no big deal.
And it's used in a lot of different places. So one customer I went to, they had set up AVD Azure files at some point, and they wanted that access. So they'd already set it up at that time. Somebody had run that command. So when I went, okay, we'll we'll need to enable this for like Hello for Business. And we went to that and checked. It was already enabled. Like they didn't even know that they didn't need to do anything anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hybrid join. So Microsoft recommendation for everything is Entra join. I know lots of organizations are working on moving to the Entra join way of doing things, and that's where this whole thing with autopilot comes in as well. The recommendation is always to use Entra join and autopilot. If you're rolling out autopilot, it's just a no-brainer to always use Entra join and go that way. But you do have some thing.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's like 8 times easier to do cloud native autopilot, right?
Right.
And yeah,
so what is autopilot? For those who don't know, like we have a lot of Entra admins and they might not be really familiar with autopilot. What is autopilot?
So the funny thing is that autopilot, people treat it like it's the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, like he's behind this whole screen. Like people think it's like, oh, that's it. All autopilot really is it's a gateway into automated enrollment, right? So the way autopilot works is you have on your device, there's basically this long nonsensical thing called a hardware hash, and that gets imported into Intune, and that device comes in. That device is mapped to a policy, which basically is teaching the device what to do during the out of box enrollment.
Right.
Excuse me. And with autopilot, we have several different flavors. We have your typical autopilot, which is like what you were talking about. You get the device, you log in on the white Microsoft modern auth window. The device will check the automated enrollment records, and it'll automatically enroll the device based on how that's set up, and policies and apps and da will come down. Or you also have like pre-provisioning, which used to be known as white glove, where essentially all your apps anything that's basically scoped to a device gets preloaded at the factory, and you have 2 different sides of the coin.
Right.
The technician workflow and the user workflow. So in the technician workflow, all the stuff that's device scoped comes down. You resale it, you hand it to the user, and basically that normal 45 minutes becomes like 10 or 15 minutes, because then they log in, and just the stuff that's scoped to that user comes down.
Right.
Then you also have self-driven, which is for like kiosks and shared devices. Right. I don't like talking about the other one because that other one has been proven to have some gaps as far as like the JSON enrollment, but that's the fourth one, but leave that alone. But so autopilot's one aspect of it. Then you also have the enrollment status page, which controls what the user experiences during that, like whether or not we show it, if we block. But essentially what autopilot is essentially the gateway into your device. So it facilitates essentially zero touch or near zero touch enrollment of your device. Kind of like what people used to with like Apple's DEP program, or like Android Zero Touch or any of that kind of stuff. But
so when the user is enrolling, you can configure the entire experience.
Exactly right.
They just get a new laptop and they sign in.
Yeah, and you can get really crazy with it if you want to get really, really crazy with it. Like my good friend Michael Niehaus has gotten really crazy over the years, where he's got like stuff. I know it's kind of, so he has like a thing he has stuff that'll actually like apps that'll install and pop pop-up windows and cultivate the experience more. But essentially the experience is whatever you want to make the experience to be. I mean, this is obviously also autopilot V1, which some people don't like the V1 thing.
And for Entra admins, one of the key things would be, as part of that experience, is like setting up Hello for Business. When they set up the device for the very first time, it walks them through that process. And, you can customize when it would appear as well, I believe, with autopilot. Is that right?
Well, not necessarily when it will appear, but if you have a policy that actually that would come into play based on whether you're scoping to a device or a user. It should always be scoped to the device. And the big key when you talk about Cloud Kerberos trust is you can't use the built-in policy that's in Microsoft. You have to build your own with the settings catalog, so that you get there's a key specifically for essentially use a token for on-prem auth, which for whatever reason still is not in the built-in Windows Hello policy. I mean, my rule of thumb is if it's an endpoint security, I almost want nothing to do with it most of the time. You also baseline and stuff. We just try to build it ourselves a lot of times, and use great tools like the Open Baseline, because like just a lot of times you just don't know what you don't know, and there's some stuff unfortunately is battle tested, where you just have learned this is really bad and nothing good comes of it, and so you learn the right way to do things. I think that's the the artisanal aspect of Intune and Entra is learning the right things to do and not do. Like a lot of times, like with Entra, dealing with stuff like where people are going crazy with how much they're locking down, what devices can Entra join, and
Yes.
that stuff. So it gets very tricky, I think, very very quickly. Then you have the whole local admin
Yeah.
debacle that from recently too. It's just
Right.
like,
Exactly.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, just really knowing what the good best practices are, and that's part of the role, I think, of the MVP of us MVPs, is trying to teach people,
Yeah.
this is what your baseline is, and this is how we're trying to achieve it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There are so many ways to do things, and Microsoft just gives all the options. And
Yep.
then you need to decide which ones you turn on, off, and what is the experience you create for your users
Yeah.
through
They're just
that.
like, do what you want. Is what I hate.
Yes.
It's one of the things I dislike about many of us MVPs is I hate when they say it depends. I like to take a stance on a thing. A lot of MVPs, I'll go to conferences and events, and they like to say it depends, and that just makes me die a little bit on the inside. I'm like, I want to have an opinion.
Yeah, it depends, but this is my opinion. So
Yes.
yeah, like we had this conversation just yesterday, right? About BitLocker keys, whether you should block that. Because initially, when that was
Yeah.
available, you can go to my security portal and users can get their BitLocker key and they can use it to recover their device, right? If something
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
And by default, it was always available to the user for years. And then a lot of enterprise orgs ask for that to be locked down.
Yeah.
They have a different process to request it. They just didn't want end users getting it. So a new setting was introduced. So now you have an option, right? Whether you block it down
Yeah.
or not.
Well,
And
it's funny.
yeah.
Nobody knew about this thing at all until CrowdStrike Gate happened.
Right. Yeah. That's when
Then
it
we all
blew
started
up, right?
talking about it. Me and Nate and a bunch of us started talking about it because we're
Yeah.
like, wait, maybe that would be really useful right about now, given that
Yes. Yeah.
situation. It's funny how many, because like that was, I mean, because like my opinion on it, as we were talking like yesterday, the day before, was give them freaking access. Is conditional access, managed device. I mean, if it's not coming from, I mean, if they're on a managed device accessing a BitLocker
Yeah.
key, there's a lot worse they can do than that. I mean, they should be able to unlock their hard drive. I mean, that's,
Yes. Yeah.
and God knows there's a lot of things that make the whole BitLocker thing get out of sync and not be happy.
Yes, and CrowdStrike was that incident, right? When that happened, it started getting on the device. Then they had to have the BitLocker key to sort of go back and reboot and recover at that point. And if you had locked it down, the users couldn't do it. They all had to call help desk, right? And then suddenly you had tens of thousands of users who couldn't do anything. And as part of this, a lot of orgs I know turned it on again to allow their users to be able to get the
it's funny. So Workspace ONE, I dealt with this during a migration recently. So Workspace ONE actually implemented a custom feature into their intelligent hub that will, when you basically delete a device from Entra, they can actually persist. They basically can migrate the BitLocker to local, so that when you remove that device from Entra, you're not totally hosed. But basically, they allow the device to remain encrypted on an unenrollment, so that if like you do go and re-enroll it, then you don't have a situation where you can no longer unlock the drive. It's interesting that just they built. I asked them about it, and they told me that like, yeah, we can't really tell you, but we blah blah blah. So yeah, they actually like built it. It's just interesting. I was telling the Intune MVP lead about it, that they basically built something so to allow that device to remain basically encrypted after being removed from Enter/Intune, which I thought was just kind of interesting.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's still
'cause
encrypted. The user can, and the user has a way to.
which is I think super interesting, because I mean we're seeing a lot of this right now with all these MSP. The new hot thing is every MSP wants to build an Intune, basically a unified portal for Intune now. Like Nerdio, RoboPack, they're all building one, and it's funny because like now some of them actually have the ability to now inside of that portal access using the APIs and accessing the BitLocker key inside of like Nerdio, for example. I thought that was kind of funny. Like Enforcer, another example. They're all like, that's the new hot thing. MSP, multi Intune tenant management, etc. That's like the new trend for 2025 that we're seeing.
Nice. That's good.
Hey,
so when it comes to autopilot and hybrid join, everyone says don't do it, use Entra join, because that's the most easiest path and the pit of success. like if you're an org. But then not all orgs are hybrid join, are on Entra join, and they're on the journey to become completely Entra join and be having, a cloud native device. But for some, it's going to take a while. And they can't use, like they want to use Autopilot, but while they are still on hybrid join. You had some ways or some recommendations, right, for those who really do want it
Yeah.
to get that working?
Yeah. So I wrote a blog, you're referring to, as I wrote a blog article that
Yeah.
basically said it's okay to be, it's still maybe hybrid joined. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I kind of like hybrid join just because it's hard. Nobody wants to do it. And I think so. Like my whole stance on hybrid join is that a lot of the people who are saying hybrid join bad are because either they don't know how to do it or it makes their life too difficult. I mean, for me, like they need what they need, right? At the end of the day, there's a lot of orgs that are not forward enough thinking to do it. You have that aspect of it, and you also have the aspect where the Microsoft guidance is to wipe your device to go to cloud native, and that's not practical. As I've gone over the last year or so, I've modernized my approach to say that cloud native is a net new strategy, right? There is I literally tell customers, if somebody ever tells you to take those hybrid join devices and move them to cloud native, show them out. Just kick them out. Terminate, kick them off the project because they don't care about you. Because I mean, like, I try to be very pragmatic and just like have some common sense. And like, why would you would never want to do that? I mean, yeah, we get it. Hybrid is really hard. You got to have it, your Intune connector for Active Directory, and you got to understand how offline domain join blobs work and set up your source accounts and your, GMSAs and all that stuff. And again, it's all difficult, but it's actually really cool. I mean, when you do it, right? And you get to see because I mean, just for context, right? So you basically have this server that you install, or I should say this basically software you download from Intune, which is called the Intune connector from Active Directory. You install it on a server. You go through the pain of trying to log into it, which is like an absolute nightmare. But once you log into it and everyone's happy, that's great. And you basically have a service account, which its entire job is it has the ability to create computer objects for you. And so what happens is during Autopilot, it'll basically create like a half domain join, otherwise known as an offline domain join blob.
Right.
So, because even though that device doesn't have line of sight, it can basically create a half, like a half domain join. And then when that user has line of sight, I mean, what kind of world do we live in now? It's amazing, right? We now can do pre-log on VPN. Another thing that what's old is new again. Now we're using pre-log on VPN to do Autopilot and all this, which is kind of cool. But basically, yeah. So you have like a halfway domain join. A device, as soon as it gets line of sight, it completes that thing, and now you're hybrid, which is woo, yay, cool. But there's a lot of complications and challenges to it. Like I've worked in environments where, for example, they had one server, but they had like multiple, essentially, So they had basically they had two different domains.
Yep.
They had one of those Intune connectors in each domain, but one only had one access to one domain, one access to the other. You have no way to actually control what hits what. And so you have to have a lot, you have to be very mindful and think about what you're doing, because essentially both of those connectors for AD need to have access to both domains. Otherwise you can have a mismatch, the thing in domain A is trying to, essentially create a computer object in domain B, and that's obviously not going to work. But that's a lot of the issue with, hybrid domain join. Yeah, everything is a lot freaking harder. Like literally everything. We get it. But at the end of the day, I remember a day where we actually had a lot of pride for doing really hard stuff. And now we're like, oh, we just want to make it easy. I mean, like I said, I don't mind. I don't mind hybrid. I will say that what I typically do in any project I do now, and I'm doing a lot because everyone's like, oh my God, Windows 11, is I say, let's just see if it works. And so, like, literally, we get in there, we enable cloud Kerberos trust, yada, 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 enroll device in cloud native. Oh, look, I don't have to log in to connect to my file share. Yeah, everyone's happy.
Yes, yeah.
But they've made it hard. It's become constantly harder, too. Like, you have to, like, people don't realize, for example, with that, you have to have line of sight the very first time you log into Windows Hello, or it goes and dies. Like, I think they updated documentation on it not that long ago, because a lot of people didn't realize that, and they just kept getting, like, the failed to validate user credential stuff. But, like, as long as you understand how it works fundamentally, it's not a big deal. But it's a lot of people, they don't, especially consultants, they don't want to put the time and the effort in. But I try to be just very upfront with people and say, okay, let's just try it. Let's try this little cloud native thingy with the magic and the sparklers and everything and see if it works.
Yeah,
It doesn't,
that's the uncertainty, right? Because that when everyone looks at it, they go like, will my app work? Will this app work? And no one knows because your app in your org is very different, right? Yeah. So the best thing to do is just try it out, right? Like set it up, try it out. Then you know how big or how small of a beast it is. And it differs from org to org. There's no sort of silver bullet.
Absolutely. And I mean, and there are just certain orgs, the same orgs that expect people to be back in the office 5 days a week are the same orgs that don't want to do cloud native, right? You have, I mean, Windows Hello forever is always going to be a political issue. Very rarely a technical one because everyone has really strong opinions and usually they're not up-to-date opinions about everything that has to do with Entra. As far as, we don't want to do pass-through. We don't want to do we don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do device write back. We don't want to do group write back. Blah, blah, blah. Like they all have opinions and like because the problem is especially with InfoSec is that they think more about I than about us. And I think that happens a lot, unfortunately, is they're more like they don't want to be inconvenienced, but they should think more about what's good for the organization. Because fundamentally what we know one thing, right? We know that Microsoft is building nothing at all for hybrid anymore. Like it's just, they're keeping the lights on. That's it. And this fundamentally, that's something that you know to be true. So, okay, cool. That's what we know to be true. Then, we need to understand that eventually we do need to get to cloud native, and we do need to understand that doing cloud native is fundamentally 5 to 10 times easier than doing hybrid. Sure, hybrid, cool. Yeah. Hybrid is cool. It's fun. You have your whole, if I remember this, get Windows Autopilot info community, which is now being, maintained by Andy and stuff. And it's cool because you get to see all the, actually, no, it's not info, diagnostics. So you can actually see all the diagnostics of and troubleshoot your stuff. It's really cool to see all that and kind of see how the sausage is made. But like at the end of the day, if you don't need to do it, you don't have to do it. But I think that we should constantly be like looking at stuff and I think challenging ourselves. I mean, people are so terrified of certs and Kerberos. It's like remarkable. If you know certs and Kerberos, you have a job forever, no matter what happens. Because
I mean, I'm in that bucket of being terrified of certs. I love
certs. I was the SME at BlackBerry. I love certs. They're fun.
Before we had Windows Hello for Business Cloud Trust, you had this nightmare thing of setting it up. You had to go to the AD, set up the certs. And when I tried doing that at one of the orgs I worked, they were like, oh, we need to update the cert templates that we use in AD. And that's a big thing. We've never touched it for like 10 years now. And the admin was like, I don't know what's going to break and you need to be responsible if something goes wrong. And because the whole billing system that brought in their revenue, the servers were all domain joined and you couldn't do anything because if you did something, they would lose a lot of revenue for the company's existence depended on those things being up. And so it was very scary to do all of that. And that's the reason why like years later, Microsoft came up with Cloud Kerberos Trust and just a simple one-page set of steps to turn it on.
I mean, it's the same thing with like Entra Surface Off, which I'm really happy to see them doing that because it's like, as you well know, I've spent a lot of time in the Okta world, and that's one of the things that's always infuriated me is I always was a big fan of doing cert-based auth as an authentication mechanism because, like, I mean, it's great as far as the whole zero trust paradigm, and I'm glad to see that Microsoft is doing that with Entra because, like I said, Okta does not offer that, which I was not particularly thrilled by because, I mean, to me, I mean, it's a great authentication mechanism.
Exactly. It is an awesome one. And because it's been there for years, it just works everywhere. Like passkeys, we're still getting to that point where it's seamless and it works in because the OS needs to support it and the apps need, and like there's so much that needs to happen. But certs have been there forever. Like you can bring one of these old, like these, like the smart cards and you can just tap it on your phone and you can sign in. It's passwordless. And like a lot of the federal government, etc., they all just run on these still, right? And they're as strong as the passwordless way of doing it.
Yeah, like that, and now we have FIDO keys, which are slowly replacing those. Good old YubiKey, which is a nice tech as well. But I mean, it's like, I mean, just the passkeys will get there. They're still not quite there yet, but I think they're getting very close. As we continue to get there more and more.
Yes, yeah. As like it's very new, right? So it's just going to evolve, and the thing is, the whole industry is behind it now. So it's going to be, hopefully, right? This is the best chance of moving to passwordless world. When you have Apple involved, when you have Microsoft, Google, like everyone working together to make it successful.
FIDO2 Alliance. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So so your blog post is really a good one on the whole hybrid join and the ins and outs of it, of how to get it working.
It's great though. It's a great skill to have. I mean, it's just a good conversation piece when you actually know what it does and how it works. Because a lot of people they just like throw their hands up. Like I said, it's okay. It's still going to be around. It's just like SCCM. We're never going to get rid of it. So it's probably going to be around for quite a while still, as long as people are still afraid of the cloud and afraid of this and afraid of that. And that's okay. We'll just keep on. We just try to give people what they need. Hopefully less hybrid, more cloud native as we move forward.
Exactly. Yeah. The cloud native is the easy path, the bright, shiny path. Hybrid join, you can get there, but you need people like John and others to help you sort of get everything working. Because if not, there are lots of paper cuts with hybrid join, and which is why
GPO is the epitome of death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's for sure.
Yeah, true. Cool. Awesome. So let's talk about Workplace Ninjas in the US that's coming up. How did it all sort of come about?
So my friend Christian Brinkhoff, which I'm sure you know quite well, he's like, why don't you just bring ninjas here? And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then so like I started going down the journey and talking to people like Peter Dahlmans, all these different people. And then eventually I approached the founders, Marco, who founded Workplace Ninjas Switzerland with other people, and said, you know what, I want to do this here. Let's do it. And so we said, okay, we did it. And I really went deep on it. Like, so only one that this is true for. We are a nonprofit tax exempt organization in the US. So I did all that. Then at Ignite, I spent my own money and I rented a box for the Chicago Bulls basketball game. If you're not familiar, you're in Australia. So I never know the sports stuff, but yeah, we rented a box with 40 people, brought like 40 MVPs, all kinds of people. And so we did a big event there. We also did a huge joint event with Ninjas UK and myself at the MVP Summit in March, just kind of trying to build up some of the stuff. And the whole idea behind Workplace Ninjas US and what is going to make it unique and different from everything else is that we are an event that's all about, we want to get rid of the ego behind community and get back to the basics of why we're doing it to begin with. So we're all one real true unit, and there's no ego. It's about the people who attend. It's about community engagement. It's about the attendee experience. And that was how we've kind of have refocused and decided this is how we're going to do things. Because one thing that I think that people miss out on a lot is I decided for myself that I have an opportunity to do things differently. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to take all the things that I've seen over the last decade plus, and I'm going to undo them. I'm just going to, okay, people giving people cold sandwiches. No, that's not happening at my events. At our event in Dallas, Texas, December 9th and 10th, we have one day we have a burrito bar for lunch. The other day we have a Texas pit smoker live carving brisket for lunch, like a full barbecue spread, really dynamic food, the whole event. We also just signed a deal today. We're going to do a pre-day hackathon. We have 5 different captains who have all built a community tool who are going to basically, I'm not going to announce the topic yet, but they're all going to compete for a golden Clippy trophy, who's the mascot of Workplace Ninjas US. Basically, they're all going to compete for a trophy. One of the things that we are doing at Workplace Ninjas, again, doing things differently because we can, is that we have a sponsor, and we're sponsoring what's called the Golden Clippy Awards, which you can think of it as the Microsoft community version of the Oscars. And
Nice.
yeah, it's kind of neat. So we basically have these 12 different categories, and right now through social media, we've been announcing every week essentially who the who the different finalists are, and all the people who attend get to vote on the winner. So we're gonna have like 4 or 5 finalists for all these different categories. You vote on the winner, and then we have a big ceremony at the end where we give out these trophies. And these are like these like $800 trophies. They're pretty significant. So they're not like something that we printed at Staples, which is a supply store in the US. But yeah, so like we're really trying to give back to community. That's what we're really focused on. We're also planning to have a dunk tank. We're gonna have Microsoft employees actually sit in a dunk tank, and people are gonna be able to donate money to actually try to dunk them, like Leo or Bella, Christian Breakoff, and yet all that money goes to Girls Who Code. So like we're really committed to trying to do things better and do things a little bit differently, and trying to kind of just just be decent people and give people opportunities. And the other thing that I want to mention is that we're also going to be doing a community theater where people who don't normally speak actually get to sign up and do little 15-minute sessions in front of judges and get feedback about their speaking, because we're doing a half day for that, because we want to just try to give more opportunities to people and get, because I'm tired of seeing the same people talking at Microsoft conferences every year. Like, we want to set up the stage, from like a legacy perspective, so that new people are feel welcome and feel like they're part of it. And so we're really trying to do that. And I can guarantee this. So we've shortlisted our speakers. We will probably be one of the first conferences ever. 16.7% of all of our speakers are women.
Oh, nice.
And I would argue that I would love for someone to show me a better percentage in a Microsoft event, because that's pretty good. Like, we gotta have almost 17% of our speakers will be women, because we've already shortlisted and have a good idea who those speakers are going to be. So like, we're really proud of the fact that we're really trying to do things differently and trying to bring different types of people, and just try to just do good things. Because part of the thing that we were here to talk about today is that we wanted to announce the finalists for the Entra IDol of the year.
Entra IDol. Yeah, why is it called IDol?
IDOL. Which is, so all these different trophies are basically people who excel in their field. We consider to be like true faces and voices of a technology. We're doing it for like from Intune, security, AVD and Windows 365, every single different tech. And like I said, it's just special because honestly, MVPs, we don't always get a lot of accolades. Many of us work very hard and try to do good things, and so I'm trying to do something good for them. And so on our list, one of our people who will be attending Workplace.
So are you going to announce the contest?
Yes.
Like
yes, we will announce. So the first finalist who will be there in person is Eric Woodruff, who's a really great Entra evangelist.
Yes, he's done some amazing work, like the no auth as part of Semprace, and like all the research what he's sharing.
Yeah, he's exceptional. We also have Michael Mardal, who I don't know if he will be able to be there or not in attendance, but really done a lot of great work on passkeys and app registrations and things. Dan Bradley, who I know who's exceptional, just really great out in the UK, who I'm still trying to coax to come. The funny thing is about the Clippy Awards is that it apparently is actually its secret power is it's getting people from Europe that weren't going to come now, which is funny.
Nice. Yeah. Daniel has done some amazing work as well. Like he's great. His website is our cloud network, and like it's almost every week when I send out the Entra newsletter, he comes in with something new, and always teaching people. And what I like is he has an opinion on things as well. So that's also a neat thing.
What I really like about him, he's very approachable. So you can go to him and he'll actually, that's one of the issues I had with a lot of different people on the Microsoft side before I was over here, is that a lot of them, they weren't, like, you couldn't really collaborate with them. Like if someone, like a lot of these bloggers, like they won't respond to you if you put posts on their things. Like they just weren't always good about that. Dan has always been really good. Like you could go and reach out to him and talk to him, and he was always very helpful. That's what I always really liked about him. The last finalist is Thomas Nonheim, who you actually helped bring to my thought process. Who I'm still trying to get his coworker Ugur Koch, who, if you know Ugur, right? He's built a number of tools now. Great guy. He is actually one of the captains for the hackathon. the
Nice.
pre-day hackathon.
Nice.
Good guy, good friend of mine,
He's
and I'm
amazing. The
trying to get.
tools and things he's
Oh yeah,
building and
he's doing it.
sharing.
Oh, he's
It's
doing it great. Oh yeah, he's doing great.
yeah.
He's doing some really great work. We hung out quite a bit at Workplace Ninjas UK just a couple weeks ago. And so he'll be coming, and I'm still trying to get him to poke Thomas into
Yeah.
coming.
Thomas is
I
Dr. Ajedi, right? Or Mr. Ajedi.
Yeah, I wish I want to get doctor. The hardest part, I'll be honest with you, in our climate right now, is getting people from Europe to actually be willing to come to the US. And this wasn't a problem we
Yes.
had a year ago, unfortunately, but it's a problem we have now. Like
No.
I tried to get actual Dr. Azure AD to come and speak,
Yeah.
but he's not willing to go to any US conferences right now, which is unfortunate. And I've had that problem with a few people, which makes me sad, but hopefully I get to see them because I'll be at Workplace Ninjas in September speaking. And
Nice.
so in Switzerland, and like I said, I'd be happy to see many of these people. But one of the big challenges is some people just aren't comfortable, and I can never criticize that because
Yes.
I get it. It makes sense.
Yep. Agree. Nice. So those are the finalists you have,
Yes, those
and
are the
you'll be
finalists.
picking.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that the people pick them, right? So,
Yep.
so we use Cvent for the conference, and so what happens is that they're gonna as soon as they get on site and they log in the Cvent app, they're gonna have polls in there. They're gonna be able to vote for the finalists, and all those votes get tallied up, and then whoever the people pick is who wins. Um, and that's kind of the great thing about it is has a democratic aspect to it. Is that getting people to go out and petition and advocate for themselves, I think is really fun and a great connectivity aspect of it. Because I mean, that's a lot of the whole point of these things, these conferences, right? Is getting people to connect with each other
Yeah.
and trying to really identify. Because like that's even built into our badges at Workplace Ninjas. We actually have these different modular tiles. There's actually a tile for MVP, so you're gonna know who, if they're speaking or not, you're gonna know who every MVP is there. Like the second you see them, which is kind of cool because I think that's a big problem that a lot of customers have, is that they don't always know who the MVPs are, and they don't always realize that. And in the US, it's especially a problem because, like for example, with Intune, only 12% of all MVPs are Americans,
Right.
and so in the US, we do have a bit of a gap there that we're working on. And Lior Bella, who's the MVP lead for
Really.
Intune,
Yeah.
is doing a great job trying to improve on that. But that's something that I'm really focused on is trying to get more people interested in Microsoft technologies here in the US.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. We in Australia, it's not an issue. We are really a lot of
Yeah.
folks are into Microsoft, but Australia doesn't have this conference culture, so we don't really have many conferences going on over here. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's because of the size of the country. You just need to travel a lot to get anywhere, and it's not a big thing having conferences here.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a great job with Workplace Ninjas Australia, I will say. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
Jose and Steven and company have done a really nice job of
Yeah.
trying to do a lot there. And I know that they're working on, I don't know if it's happened yet. They're working on some kind of road show where they're going to go to different locations
Oh,
from
nice.
Australia, which is really neat.
Nice.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. And like I said, anything that people do for the community, that's truly for the community, that's really great. I mean, whatever we can do to help each other, I think is so important because that's at the end of the day, that's all we got, right? Is we have each other and it helps, I think,
Yeah.
make the world a little bit better.
Yes, yeah, and I am a huge fan of like the in-person ones. I like them, but it's hard, especially for someone who's like remote like me.
Yeah.
And so I lean personally more towards virtual things like the podcast, the newsletter, and then we have like Discord and Reddit, and it's a lot more accessible to a lot more folks compared to the in-person one. So that's a sort of a balancing act.
Yeah. But I mean, even being remote, I mean, and we're gonna tip our cap to Merrill. I mean, who has had more of an impact on a technology in Microsoft in the last few years than you between Radar, I mean not Radar, between X-Ray and everything else that you build and your recent, your recent tools. Like, I mean, even though you vibe coded, I'm gonna give you a pass. But like all the stuff that you do, like every single day, one gets us in trouble because we find out about APIs we're not supposed to know about. We get in trouble for that. But like, they're just quality of life, right? I'm all about quality of life, like doing things that make people's lives better. Because for me,
Yeah.
speaking at a conference is no greater thing than someone coming up to you and telling you like the impact that they've made. Like this
Yeah.
is so invaluable, right? It validates everything. Like, like
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I've had years where I've written 50 or 60 blog articles in a year, and it's it can be a lot of work, but nothing is more valuable than being able to say, oh, I do all this stuff, but people actually appreciate it. Because I mean, God knows if like me and I post my articles in Reddit, there's not a lot of appreciation there because it's Reddit. But
Yes. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
when people actually are, they appreciate the work that you're doing. I mean, that honestly just speaks volumes. It makes it all worth it. All that the time away from the family and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I know you pinged me a lot when you were working on that hybrid join article, for instance, and then someone else reached out to me. He had a customer, I think Arvind. So he was telling me he had this whole customer who couldn't move off to native join, but they still wanted to do autopilot, and that needs hybrid join, and they were struggling a lot with it. And your article was sort of like an eye opener that really helped them see, and they were able to, because they do plan to move to native join, cloud Entra join, but they just weren't in the space they are right now, and they wanted to just get autopilot stuff working.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so your article sort of really helped them at least know, like, yes, it is possible,
It's okay.
and be able
It's okay to do it. You're okay.
yeah,
You're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to knock your door down and delete your Intune
yeah,
connector for AD because you
yeah.
did it. Right? It's
It's
like,
just that it's really hard, but if you go in knowing all of the things and then you have a plan, like a roadmap to eventually move, then that
yeah.
gets you there, right?
Yeah. And I just want to plug every single person who watches this podcast. Go message Merrill directly and tell him to accept my offer to pay for his travel to come to work with me in Dallas. Because I tell you, the amount of people that would be like up in arms with happiness and
Yeah.
jubilation if you came. I don't think you're such a modest guy. I don't think you understand how much people would love to see you because, like I said, you're like I love you, and so many people just truly love you because, like, honestly, like you personify what we need somebody to be on that side because
Right.
there are a few people that are like that we work with and we talk with and we engage with regularly, but not enough. And like I said, the stuff that you do has been, very, very important. And it makes the stuff that like me and Nathan McNulty do, and it makes it all worth it because we have somebody will engage with us and talk and because at the end of the day, right, we all have the same goal and we're all in this together. And like I said, we really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much. I mean, there are so many good people, and that's the reason with the podcast, I try to bring a lot of folks from inside Microsoft to come in and speak about their
Yeah.
features and so on. So it's a lot new to them as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
actually be bringing on one. All these days, it's mostly been feature PMs that have come on. I'm actually going to have someone from the software engineering side as well come
Very
in.
cool.
So it's going to be really cool to get their perspective on how they build Entra.
Yeah, I mean it's hard too, especially with the conference not being in Seattle, so we don't get to see as much of the engineering team. That was a nice thing when we had Ignite in Seattle. They would have mixers with all the engineers, which was really
Yes,
nice. And now
they can
being
just
outside,
roll out.
yeah,
Yeah,
just being outside of Seattle, that makes it a little bit harder. But yeah, I mean I think it's great when you get to meet people with engineering. Like we get that benefit when we go to the summit, we get to meet people in engineering.
yeah.
And I think it's really valuable just trying to understand the kind of their perspective on things.
Yes, absolutely. Nice. Awesome. We are getting to the top of the hour. It's been such a
Yes,
good chat, John. Like we
that was really good. Thank you.
quickly went through the whole hour and spoke about some of our topics. But yeah, devices is something I haven't really touched on in the podcast. And I do need to bring a lot more people to talk about like the whole device side of Entra. There's so much happening in that space.
It's so complicated, and there's a lot of stuff that people always don't realize. Especially, I think, as we start thinking about more and more about different aspects of it, and
Yeah.
and I think it's gonna evolve more and more, and we just kind of go through it.
Yes, yeah. And there's so many ways to do things, right? Like you can use dynamic groups, dynamic devices. You can also do the Intune side of things. And which one would you pick?
Yep. And then we have the new thing that's coming that I won't talk about, so I don't get violated.
Yeah. So then that'll add yet another option for you.
Yeah. Then don't forget MDQ. multi-device query. You have that stuff. Then not everyone hates. Now we have more people who hate KQL, so that's exciting for everybody. Now we can hate KQL more together.
Well, it's going to be all AI, right?
AI. I already have earmarked a few KQL sessions for Ninjas US because I'm looking at what stuff do people want to learn about that they hate. KQL, yes.
Yes.
That's why, I wrote a few blog articles on KQL because like I had to teach myself KQL when they brought device query into Intune. And it's one of those areas, right, where it's like I gave feedback at the summit. I'm like, you really should not make Intune admins have to learn KQL. That's not really fair to them. But hey, it's a new thing to learn. It's kind of like SQL. Yay.
Yeah, it's just like the Entra admins had to learn KQL.
Yeah, same deal, right? Why do you hate them that much?